There's a growing narrative online, especially among Gen Z, is that the game is rigged. I see this all the time with a lot of these doomer YouTubers who say, you can never get a job. The dating market's rigged if you're not Chad. You can't ever buy a house. You can never live in a city that is worthwhile. You can't finish school because your degree will be worthless by the time you graduate and it's not worth the cost. And this goes on and on.
I told you why these guys do that, man. They do it because that's easy to just sit there and cry about the situation. It's the easy thing to do. That's the thing. I mean, but they don't want to put the work in. They don't want to put the work in because they hate themselves. They have no confidence. They have no ambition. They have no self-esteem. And they've fallen for some myth that life is meant to be a easy, ride. I don't know why they think that life is meant to be plain sailing. Unless you come from wealth, I mean, I don't see how, I don't know what these guys were raised upon. I don't know what they thought. And life is not even all that hard anyway. I mean, these are bottom of the food chain peasants. Below average, bottom 10%, 20% guys expecting to have a good life. I told you guys, you gotta get to the top 10%. But most guys ain't trying to fight their way. Because it's too easy to sit there and go on the internet and complain. You see, when you get to that level, bro, where you're coming on the internet and complaining about your life, like these doomer YouTubers, that means you're in a bottom percentile of men. Especially if you're in your 30s and 40s, man. Like, you're in a bottom percentile of men. That you're willing to put your face on the internet and talk about how bad your life is. You are a shameless individual. I spoke about shame before. When you've lost all shame, that's when you know that you're finished, man. You look at some of these guys and you just shake your head and you're like, bro, this guy is a complete and utter loser, a complete and utter embarrassment, a complete and utter disgrace. You see these guys, I mean, if you're struggling in life, man, you should be looking at solutions, not trying to justify why you're in the position that you're in. And then you come on YouTube and you create a community with other losers justifying why they're a loser. I mean, it sounds crazy, but this is what the internet has created. I think a lot of men would be better off if they didn't get involved in these internet communities. It keeps you in that position. It's like the crabs in a bucket mentality, man. It keeps you in that loser mindset. The mark of a man is how he responds to adversity. If your response to adversity is, oh, it's too hard, I'm gonna cry about it on the internet, you are a complete loser and you're finished. Unless you change your mentality, you are 100% finished, man. And there's no other way about it.
Yeah, and also with Murphy's speech, AI is going to eat your jobs or replace everything you do anyway. So what's the point? And like politicians are corrupt, institutions are broken, whatever. And the conclusion that all these people always pitch, both on social media world, and I'm already starting to see it creep in real life a little bit, is why even try? The quiet quitting meme started as a workplace cynicism, but it's kind of...
I take it one step further. Why are you still here on this planet? Nobody's forcing you to be here. Oh, why even try? Why are you living here, man? You could finish it anytime you want. Oh, yeah, no, my life is still good, man. No, your life ain't good. Stop lying. Your life ain't good. When you call them out on the BS, I don't even talk to these guys. I don't even allow these guys on my channel. One thing that's banned on my channel is justifying your loser situation. It's not allowed on my channel, and if you put that on my channel, you get blocked on this channel for saying that.
Metastasized into something a little bit darker, just like quitting on life. Not literally, but in the sense of a soft surrender, giving up on goals, ambition, family, growth, just kind of chilling, enjoying the decline and waiting for some political savior to press a social reset button.
Yeah, Gary Stevenson, that's what the political savior in the UK is, but, well, that's what many of them think. Of course he's not, but enjoying the decline, another cope. These guys ain't enjoying the decline. They're getting poorer and poorer. Some of them are becoming homeless. Some of them are, having to skip out on meals and sit in the cold weather without any heating. They're not enjoying any decline, man. That's just another cope that somebody made up to justify why they're a loser.
And so, let me be honest. Like, this isn't really new. Every generation has kind of hit a wall. I'm a millennial, and half the people I went to high school and college with flamed out fairly quickly. It's the same with the Gen X and the boomers. There's just different names for them. For boomers, we call them hippies, and for Gen X, we call them slackers, but it's really kind of the same thing. But what's new is how early are people quitting. They're often quitting before they even really get started. A 2023 survey showed that fewer than 15% of Americans are working in a career that they actually find fulfilling. Another study showed that 90% of people stay in jobs longer than they would like, not really out of loyalty, but because they don't believe change is possible. When we flip the coin, there's really another point that data really is saying here. About like 8.8% of individuals, or about, depending on how you calculate it, 12 to 15% of households in America have a net worth of over $1 million USD.
But why are people quitting so early? I think people quit so early because, they've been misinformed about what it takes to become a success. Unless you're trying to become, a professional sports star or a professional gamer, certain things are a young man's game. But typically, I mean, you have a 40-year career, right? And traditionally, actually, it's longer than that, but traditionally, there's a 40-year career, and you're not going to hit your apex within 5 years. But guys don't want to put the work in. It's easier to just say, oh, well, I tried. You didn't try. You didn't try long enough. You didn't try long enough. It may take you 5, 10, or even 15 years to fix your situation. It's better late than never. I'd rather die a rich man after a decade and a half or even 2 decades of struggle than die a poor man and live poor and subjugated and humiliated my whole life, man. That's the reality. It's like there's no benefit to being poor. There's really no benefit to it. I mean, guys who are poor and they complain about being poor. That's the thing. They're not even happy with being poor, but they hate hard work and they hate themselves more than they love, themselves and coming out their situation. See, I'm not trying to live as a poor man for the rest of my life, man. And I won't let that happen. Because I've already completed the beginning stage. I've already laid my foundation. I spoke about that many years ago. But a lot of guys, they haven't even got their foundation laid because they gave up. Like you said, they quit. Well, you can quit, but just accept that you're going to be humiliated, subjugated, and dominated for the rest of your existence on this planet. Just remember that.
When you strip out home equity and focus on financial assets, it drops to about 10 to 12%. But here's what's remarkable. That tracks almost in line perfectly with
most of these older millionaires, they're only millionaires because of property and obviously the appreciation in property prices and pension. They're not actually living the millionaire lifestyle. These are average people. Most millionaires are actually average people. They're just older boomers.
Percentage of people who don't abandon their long-term financial and professional goals by the time they turn 40. Most people quit, and a small percentage don't. Over the decades, that persistence compounds into wealth, freedom, and impact. People aren't losers because they're inherently bad people or they fail. It's because they quit. There's a good book I recommend reading about this. It's called Grit by Angela Duckworth, and she made this point mathematically.
Grit, passion, and resilience are the secrets to success.
Talent times effort equals skill, and skill times effort equals achievement. And the key thing here is that effort counts twice. And it's not just some kind of frantic Gary Vee, like hustle, Instagram influencer selling type of thing. It means sustained, deliberate effort in the long haul, something that actually matters to you and you're inspired to wake up early in the morning to do. And grit doesn't just matter psychologically, it matters economically. Research from Duckworth and her colleagues show that grit predicts higher GPA, greater employee retention, higher long-term achievement, even after controlling for IQ and social class. So all the effects of the scale beyond individuals. Longitudinal data studies suggest that sustained goal-directed effort correlates with higher income, more stable employment, and greater upward mobility over time. And these are all.
I mean, most guys just get to a certain spot in life and they give up, staying in your comfort zone. Staying in your comfort zone is one of the worst, and I've spoken about this before, but staying in your comfort zone is one of the worst things you can do, man. I'm being punished every day because I stuck in my comfort zone when I shouldn't have, man. It's easy to stick in your comfort zone. It's easy to, oh yeah, I'll do that later. You never know what's gonna come down the line, man. It's like, you don't want to live a life of regret. And I'm going to talk about that in more videos. That might be my next video, I don't know. But you don't want to be in a stage of regret, especially when you get to be in your 50s, 60s. If you want to be in a stage of regret, be in a stage of regret in your 20s and 30s so that you've got the ability to actually turn it around and change things. But so many people, they get in their comfort zone, they end up having kids, and before they know it, they're a 40, 50, 60-year-old loser and just living a basic life, man, and working a slave job, and it's terrible, man. Like, you don't want to end up like that. You want to end up as a top 10 percenter at least. And to be a top 10 percenter, you got to be willing to go above and beyond what other people are doing, man.
Academically cited, and for those who are watching this on YouTube, I will have citations in the description for your guys' convenience instead of me just listing random academic surveys here live. From a macroeconomist perspective, economists really describe this return to experience curve as workers persist in their field, they accumulate domain-specific capital, skills, and trust networks, and that yields increasing returns over time. Behavioral economists like Ernst Furr have showed that future orientation, or the willingness to persist for long delayed rewards, strongly predicts national outcomes in terms of productivity growth and the percentage of the population that decides to pursue some sort of entrepreneurial venture, and the success of those entrepreneurial adventures. In short, grit compounds, and that compounding, whether financial, cognitive, or reputational, explains persistence, the secret denominator, both in personal wealth and collective prosperity. We see this in the world itself. The countries that tend to have the most grit and persistence are the ones that are at the top. Like, when you think of countries, a reputation where people don't give up and persist and take risk, that's the United States, and that's a lot of the prosperous East Asian countries. Whereas the countries that are kind of known for giving up and quitting relatively quickly, like the former Soviet Union, Western Europe, and Latin America, have much different outcomes, especially over the last 25 years. Innovation.
A lot of countries don't even have the concept of coming out of your situation, or I don't even want to say getting rich, but even just elevating above the level that you were born into. You just do what your parents did, get into the family business, not even family business, because whatever it is, right? Like, you're a rice farmer or whatever, right? You just follow what you've been told, man. They don't have any concept of self-improvement in a lot of these countries. They don't have any concept of elevation. They don't have any concept of, a lot of people don't even get an education in a lot of countries. Even in the West, it's like, the working class, oh, my father was a butcher, so I'm gonna be a butcher. They don't even think about, like, if that's really what they want to do, right? They don't even think about the money that you're gonna make doing it. Is it worth it? Is it still lucrative in today's era? My father was a fisherman, I'm gonna be a fisherman. It's like, that is a loser mentality as well. You're not actually pursuing anything. You're not using your brain. You're just following what you've been told. And that's why a lot of people end up in a situation whereby, they're living terrible lives because they just, I didn't just follow what I was told. Yes, I went to university and that was not the best decision. But when I realized that the job market was not, the money was not there for me, I didn't have a top degree from a top university, and getting into the job market just wasn't making sense. I decided to pursue entrepreneurship, even though I don't come from an entrepreneurship background. And that's the difference between me and a lot of other guys. A lot of other guys, oh yeah, I'll just take this blue collar slave job and make pittance, but at least I'm getting by. That's why you don't have any satisfaction in your life, because you're not pursuing anything that's going to benefit you long term. You're just basically working to just pay the bills. Even in the West. Yeah, that's the mentality in a lot of countries. Work is just to pay the bills. But even in the West, even in America, a lot of guys have that mentality, and some people believe that that's all that you can do. No, that's what you have been brainwashed into believing, especially by these socialists who don't want the best for you. They want you to be in suffering so that you support their cause. See, socialism thrives upon people suffering. If everybody was living lavish, there would be no socialism, would there?
It's more dependent on intellectual capital and development and software and things that are more cognitively based than physical, mechanically based. And let me just put some context really in my own life. I was born with a damaged nerve in my right shoulder, so my arm never really bent straight fully. So I never really had a chance when it comes to sports. Yeah, I can see that. I was diagnosed with being slightly on the spectrum as a child, so I didn't really have super good social skills either.
See, that he's on the spectrum, but he didn't make himself a victim. Even though he's on the spectrum, he's still coming up and doing public speaking.
And I struggled with a lot of other things in my youth, including a lot of rejections from my top university choices, getting shut out of Wall Street because I didn't go to a target school, and also the GFC hitting right when I was about in the peak of my college career. I had enough setbacks that I could have rationally given up, just like a lot of these Gen Z narratives would have told me to. And trust me, there were times I wanted to quit and just blame the system and say you know what, I'd rather just sit at home and play video games and be like, this is the end. But I also...
Yeah, I could have given up too, but at the end of the day, I looked at it from a perspective of, if I give up, this is what my life is going to be. And I said, no, I can't let that. You have to look at it from that perspective. If you give up, this is the best your life is going to be. As you get older, it's going to get even worse. Giving up is the worst thing that you can do. Yes, you can give up on certain things, but you can't give up on money, bro. You can't give up on making money. You just can't. Unless you're going to go into a second or third world country. But even if you're moving to a second or third world country, yes, it's easier to live a good standard of life with less money, but you still need to, because these countries are developing over time and getting more expensive. And you see these videos all the time about people talking about how it's getting more expensive in these Southeast Asian countries. Yeah, because you haven't elevated yourself at all. All you've done is sat there and tried to scrimp and scrape by on a low Western income. That's not going to work long term.
Decided not to do that. I decided to keep moving. That's great. Not because the absence of self-doubt. We're all going to have self-doubt. But it's more about moving through it. The path forward really wasn't glamorous. I had to cold apply to over 700 finance jobs before I first got my meaningful break in the industry.
That's a lot.
I made 3 or 4 podcasts that no more than 200 people ever listened to before I started analyzing finance with Nick. And even the first 3 years of this channel, barely anybody watched it. I averaged maybe 200 views a video until last September.
See, that's what they call
my firm today looks like it's successful, but it took 2+ years for us to really make any meaningful cash flow from it. And this was not my first business that I started. A lot of it was just grind. And the same in my personal life. Years of rejection, years of social faux pas and being alienated, but compounding and learning over time, you get better and you get better results. And Duckworth's research confirms this, that people who succeed over time aren't necessarily the most talented or privileged. They're the ones who have aligned purpose and engage in deliberate practice and keep going. And the lesson in my own life is everything other than school, which I found fairly easy, academics, coasting through school, to be quite honest. But apart from that, everything I had worthwhile I didn't get until after 30 years old. And
you see that until after 30 years old, right? After 30 years old, you guys think, oh, life is meant to be easy, man. I'm supposed to have it made by 30. No, you're not supposed to have it made by 30, especially if you didn't come from privilege, especially if you had a lot of bad habits throughout life, I've had a lot of bad habits throughout my life. That's why I'm still in my 30s, but I've improved my situation even then. Now, life doesn't end just because you're 30 years old or even 35 or even 40. Yeah, the longer you take, it's going to make it harder for yourself, but it's doable. It's reversible if you're willing to make that sacrifice. But a lot of people, you know, they don't have that mindset, that winner mentality. They have a loser mentality. And if you have a loser mentality, you're never going to make any progress.
People giving up at 22, I think, is quite ridiculous as a result of that. And there's a theological parallel here, too. There's this Catholic tradition warns against something they call acedia, which is laziness, but not in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense and in the mind. It's the creeping resistance to doing things that we know must be done. It's quiet quitting of the soul. And I believe that acedia is the true epidemic in modern America. Inflation is bad. Automation is a tool which I think could be used for good too, but people blame that for a problem. And it's not inequality. Inequality is just a symptom of economic prosperity. And is
well, you know, Gary Stevenson and the socialist crowd will tell you that it's all about inequality, that inequality is the biggest problem in the world today.
Oftentimes a symptom of unbalanced economic prosperity, but it's not really the fundamental problem. The solution isn't just to hustle blindly, it's to commit wisely. Choose a hard-worthy thing that you're willing to keep showing up for, even when it feels pointless.
Yeah, stick to one thing, bro. Stick to one thing. Don't be a wishy-washy guy. These guys at the bottom of the food chain, one thing I noticed about them, they're wishy-washy. They haven't stuck to one thing for the past 5 to 10 years to actually get good at it. They haven't done that. They go from one loser job to the next, to the next, to the next. You're never going to get ahead in life.
Even when you feel like an imposter, and even when it's year 9 and nobody cares. Woody Allen's famous for saying that 80% of success is showing up. He was more right than he knew. The most elite roles in business, government, community life, many are vacant. Not because the competition is fierce, because nobody really wants to apply. I haven't made it to the counter elite yet, but I'm on the path and the fruits are starting to ripen. Not because I have some edge, but because I refuse to abandon the mission. You can too. Thank you for being here and supporting the channel. And now I'm
Alright, so that's the video. Good speech analyzing finance with Nick. Thank you for this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you aren't already. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you're informed every time I upload a new video.